I didn't go to parties. I studied 14 hours a day. Total number of parties I went to my entire college career was 4. Anybody have less than 4? You have less than 4? Okay. Okay. So here's the deal. Here's $20, okay? I want you to go have a party, okay? Now, here's the deal. This is my business card.
Thank you.
If you invite me, I'll give you another $20. You know, I talk in business classes, I talk in all sorts of classes. Business, I never get anybody. Electrical, all the hands are going up. Do you know how many parties I've ever been invited to? None. 0. Okay. Could be 40. Could be 40. Okay, all right. So I busted hump. I graduated. I was an electrical engineer. I'm going to go work for NASA. You know who wouldn't interview me? NASA. I have things to say about NASA, but you know. So anyway, I took a risk. I didn't quite fail, but I did fail, so I had to pivot. So I had to go get a job. I didn't do well in the job market. For 5 years, 3 jobs, kept quitting. By then I'm married, I have a son, we have a house. I'm like, hey, I'm going to quit again. Hey, I'm going to quit again. Hey, I'm going to quit again. People weren't comfortable. But I was, because tomorrow's always going to be a good day. Because I'm starting to learn something about myself. I'm starting to learn that I have an affinity for taking a risk. I have a willingness to potentially fail. I'm okay with pivoting. And so it's starting to wrap together. It's like, okay, there's something going on here. And I've always had this dream. I've always had this dream of being a CEO. And so ultimately, God love you, there's a person in this room that is truly an amazing person. And Liz Kisenweather, if you really knew how great Liz Kisenweather is, you'd be shocked. She's the person that almost was the astronaut. So I would pay you to be at a party. So. I had the great honor of starting a company with Liz. And she had a friend that gave us $25,000. Now here's the problem. We had no clue what we were doing. We really didn't. And so it didn't go well. It really didn't. And it's a wonderful story because it got really, really bad. We ultimately, through this process, sold the company. Yes! Not so much. Because we were so far in debt and we didn't have any paychecks that it was the only logical thing to do to sell the company so we could get out of debt. And that was a positive thing, so we thought. And then along comes this venture capital firm and they're going to help us go to the promised land and it's going to be this amazing thing. And it's wonderful. And one day we called out to Minnesota to find out what was going on and they were all gone. I'm dead serious, they were gone. These people that came in, that bought our company and tried to help us go somewhere, essentially disappeared. And when they disappeared with desks, computers, phones, everything. It was all gone, even $20. And so, you know, you learn something when all of a sudden you're in a position where somebody calls you and says, the company that you think that you have is now in a big problem. And oh, by the way, because you're the only ones left that we can find, we're calling you fiduciarily responsible. Like fiduciarily, I'm an engineer, I can't even spell that. So what that means is you're in deep, deep, deep trouble because you're responsible for the money. And so the money was that we got a fax that said we were $1 million in debt. Good luck, have a great day, figure it out. And oh, by the way, because since everybody else disappeared, We're going to hold you responsible because maybe you're in collusion with these people. So these people were bad people. They were really bad people. I did some research later on, and I realized that we got duped by the best. Turns out they were part of the biggest Ponzi scheme in the state of Minnesota. So when we went down with the best. So I'm pretty proud of that. Mama didn't raise a doofus. Well, kind of, but that's a different story. So now there's another opportunity for risk, fail, pivot. But this was truly the greatest moment of my life from a professional standpoint. Because let's go back to that CEO thing, purpose, vision, mission. I realized when the company was going down and when the money was running out, I realized that, the concept of power and money and all these other things, it didn't matter. It was all gone. And what I did realize at that particular time is that as long as I have my family, my friends, my health, and my moral tenets, you cannot defeat me. You cannot hurt me. You cannot put me down. You can't touch me. I'm okay. I'm invincible. And so I also realized that there are different types of people in the world. And there are people that drive through life using different parts of the car. And there are some people that they drive through life and they look at the dashboard. They know exactly where they are in the today. And they know what the instruments say. And there's people that drive through life looking out the rearview mirror and talking about everything that happened yesterday. And there's people that drive through life looking out the front windshield thinking about tomorrow. So when this all went down, and this was the position, what do? Well, you risk, you fail, you pivot. So guess what? I stand before you as a failure. I stand before you as an entrepreneur that failed miserably. I stand before you as a naive person that did not understand what it meant to really run a business. I stand before you as a person that didn't have the luxury of what you're doing right now. I stand before you knowing that had I had the opportunities that you all are having, my risk, fail, pivot would have been very, very, very different. You're being given a gift. You've elected to take advantage of that gift. You're on your way to being a CEO, whether it is a company or yourself. And so as I was in my next risk, fail, pivot, I said, okay, so what do? Do I quit? Well, quit. There's no company left. So that was easy. Do I go get a job? That sounded dull. So, hey, why not start a new company? Yeah. So I said to my father, hey, I want to borrow $3,500. And he said, okay, what are you going to do with it? And I got on a flight out to the West Coast, and I went knock, knock, knock. And I said, ladies and gentlemen, if you will give me $5,000 in the next 2 weeks, I will give you engineering services for the next year at $40 an hour. But I need the money in 2 weeks. And so I got back, and I waited, and I waited, and I waited. And 2 days before that 2-week period happened, and 2 weeks was a big cliff because a lot of bad stuff was going to happen to a lot of people in that 2 weeks. I mean, people were stretched really thin. But 2 days before that 2-week period ended, $5,000 showed up. Actually, $10,000 showed up. And at the end of the first month, $40,000 showed up. And at the end of the first 6 months, $500,000 had come in. $3,500, a plane ticket, knocking on doors, taking a chance, and just going for it. Every single one of you can get your hands on $3,500. Every single one of you can knock on doors and go say, hey, I have an ask. My ask is your money in exchange for something. That's why you're here tonight, because you've done something that brings you to this precipice. You're entrepreneurs. Congratulations. We are brother and sister in the world of entrepreneurship, and the beautiful thing about it is we are all the same, because you know what we all do as entrepreneurs? We sit awake at night wanting to throw up, And that's our common bond. And it's a wonderful, wonderful world. And I love it because it does create that connection point. So my company grew. And I was doing really well, and we were moving along great. We were involved with DVD, we were involved with Blu-ray, we were involved with Google TV, we were involved with Chromecast. How many of you have ever used any single one of those products? Chromecast, Google TV, Blu-ray. You all should be paying me. Okay, I should be getting $1 from each one. Well, maybe I did. So thank you for your $1. So what did we do? We developed intellectual property that goes inside of those products. So when you press that remote control to say play, pause, stop, that remote control is talking to the box. And that box has to be navigated. That box has to be told what to do. That's us. That's Videon. We do that software. And so we're in tens of millions of devices. And we are working with companies like Intel and Qualcomm and Broadcom and Intel, I said Intel, and LG and Samsung and Sony. I mean, we work with all of them. And it's truly, truly, truly an honor to do that. And so we're growing, and we get to $14 million, and we're very profitable, and we have 80 people. And I said, wow, this is amazing. We're really doing a great thing. But I had a little problem. I didn't know what to do next. In June of 2012, I stood before my company. I gave out bonuses. We celebrated. I had no earthly idea how we were going to go forward. Well, let's see. I pivoted at Penn State. I pivoted through 3 jobs. I pivoted through my first company. So it's another pivot. So now, how do you take a company that's a service-based company and pivot it the whole way to be a product company when you don't know anything about selling products? And when you know that a venture capitalist is a bad thing in your world, and you know you don't want to raise money. I'm almost there on this pivot. We're making a lot of progress. This has been the hardest professional thing I've ever done in my life. And I have been sick to my stomach, closest to the nervous breakdowns. This has been the hardest one by far. I'm having a blast. I love it. It's an addiction. Because you know what? It goes back to purpose. What is the purpose of Videon? What is my CEO purpose? The purpose of our company is to enable people to be the person they dream of being in a professional environment. What is our vision? Our vision is that we are going to broadcast every single event. We believe that the broadcast industry is going to go from broadcasting one show to many people to a model that broadcasts many shows to one people. We believe that tap dance is going to be broadcast. Little League is going to be broadcast. This should be broadcast. God help those that pay to see this tonight. Sorry, we were having some fun at work, so I'm losing my voice, but it's okay. So we're moving this around, and we have a vision, and we have a mission, and our mission is to simply move media, move it as simple as humanly possible. And so I'm pivoting the company, and I'm going to be a product company. Will I be Apple? Absolutely not. But will I be Videon in a different way? Absolutely. And so as I pivot from this next phase, from the phase of being the service CEO to the product CEO, my journey is done. I have completed. And it is then my turn to figure out who should sit in my seat. It's my turn to turn it over. And it's my turn to start looking at my backyard and take my points that say, hey, give people a chance to be the person they dream of being, and apply that to my backyard. A couple of years ago, I started looking at this local area. I've been born and raised in State College. I'm a State College native. I love this area deeply. I do wish we had more restaurants, but that's a different story. It is a thing. And so there are companies that used to exist in this town, and those companies are gone. And what happened over a 15-year period is there were all these big companies that left, yet our unemployment didn't change. And so private industry used to be about 25% of the employee base in this town. Penn State used to be about 35 to 40% of the employee base in this town. These companies died. Penn State research grew. Penn State grew. And so we stayed status quo. And so all of a sudden, private industry was out of balance. Penn State now represents in this town 60% of the employment. Private industry represents 7%. We, those that live in this town, now live in a company town. A company town is not what I dream of being, not what I dream of being part of. Purpose: to enable people to be the people they professionally dream of being. So my vision now is 3B33. How do we take that seesaw and how do we move that seesaw till we balance it out? And so I've started Center Region Entrepreneurial Network, and it's all about entrepreneurs. Every single one of you could be at Center Region Entrepreneurial Network events. You could come together and talk to people. And here's how it works. Care about others more than you care about yourself. Want to learn about somebody more than you want to talk about yourself. And you know what you're going to find? A lot of people love you. And there's such a network of caring and support in the entrepreneurial world, it's unbelievable. And so you start to bring these people together and you start to build startups and small companies, and you get them through growth, and you start to really have sustaining, stable companies. And then you have growth companies that start to accelerate, and you have companies that come in, and all of a sudden private industry starts to really pop up. And with private industry popping up, we have diversity in culture, diversity in restaurants, diversity in clothing, diversity in everything. And so we have a more welcoming, a more holistic town. My pivot, ladies and gentlemen, is to be done with my project called Videon and focus fully on 3B33. It's the next phase. And you know what the thing about 3B33 is? All I have to do is care about others more than I care about myself. All I have to do is follow what a CEO does, which is to have a vision, a mission, a purpose, and be willing to do a little tiny bit of risk, fail, pivot. I need you. I need every one of you to be part of my journey. I need every one of you to be part of our journey. I need you to infect yourself and others with the spirit of taking a risk, potentially failing, pivoting, and making a difference. I need each of you to be a CEO that has a vision, a mission, and a purpose. How many CEOs do I have in this room? Every single one of you is a CEO in your own world. Every single one of you has the opportunity to be a CEO that can transform yourself, your company, your backyard, and I dare say if we transform our backyard, we'll transform the world. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to be here. I never, ever, ever thought in a million years after I sat in the back of that grain wagon having corn shot at me. Hey, and I have asthma. It was not a good situation. It was not good. You know, corn thing, one hand, asthma medicine, the other, it was, oh, jeez. I even asked for a raise in the middle of the summer. They're like, a raise? Who are you? So I didn't understand, and I've changed. I never thought I would be here today. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your time. Thank you for your attention. Good luck to all of you.